Everybody. It's Daniel Allison, the average dude. Freddie, can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's me. It's your co-host.
Daniel,
450
we have walked into what seems to be some technical difficulty.
right off the bat. Can you hear me now?
We could be pulling it together here.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
I think your mouth is matching. The voice is matching your movements.
Oh wow. The clouds are parting and we're gonna have a connection. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you that it is 7:55 and we're live on First Sip for 452 or 53 days in a row.
I love it. Fantastic. Put your glass in the air. Raise your glass like you just don't care. It's time for the first sip. Can you hear me? Can you see me, Freddie Blanton, at all?
We can see you and we can hear you.
Okay, great.
And Joe says buongiorno. But here's what needs to happen, Danny.
Yeah.
You've been on this streak of, I'm saving my first sip for the show. This is my very first sip. Now, do you have anything you need to tell the bus riders immediately?
I cannot tell a lie. Read my lips. I had a sip of coffee before the first sip. Okay. I did it. What can I say? I work with a basketball official. Okay. And he's going to call a foul when he sees it. And sometimes it just makes me mad. 24 seconds before the clock went off.
And
I panicked.
I tried to look away, but once I saw it.
Let me say this. I did not enjoy that sip of coffee. I didn't enjoy it because it was just ruined. So now can I do can you?
No, I want you to. I feel
I want you to do it. I had technical difficulties this morning. Okay. This is your thing, Freddie Blanton.
You ready? Are you ready for it?
Please.
First sip, let's go!
Thank you. Enjoy this one.
V-Dub, good morning.
Yeah.
Gary.
Yeah. Hey, we got great people there. We're going to go right through it. We're on our game now. There's Joe. Good morning. On the bus. 452 in a row. No misses. Good morning. First sip, friends. V-Dub is back on the bus. I like it. I like it. Great to have Vicky on the bus. Hey, look at this. I like it when we get a little validation. The better than average dude and Freddie the man. And we're going to be talking to the smartest man in the world. This is going to be a crew. This is going to be one heck of a crew. Good morning, Gary, all the way from Dallas. I wonder what kind of morning Gary's having.
I'm sure it's a fantastic morning.
Yeah. Hey, hot coffee. There's nothing like hot coffee. Here's a quote. Always do your best. What you plant now, you will harvest later. Every step today builds your tomorrow. It's spring. Plant the right seeds. Plant the right seeds. Do you do that in your sales career? You plant a lot of seeds from day to day and hope that they grow into a beanstalk?
Well, I don't hope that they grow into a beanstalk. I water them and nurture them so they will.
Woo!
Man, that's bountiful good. Harvest.
Go boys.
Go boys and girls.
Go boys and girls. I like that. See, he includes everybody on the bus, and that's what we like to do. If this is your first time joining, welcome. We like to call this the energy bus because no matter what you do, you got to get in the right energy for the day. You got to get your mind right. You got to be in that mood to do your thing. Whatever your thing is, you got to be in the right mood to do it. And
Gary's morning's getting off a little slow.
What's that?
Gary's morning's getting off a little slow.
Oh, Gary. Well, that's what we're here for. He's got things to do. Gary's a machine. You know who else is a machine? Metal Man Matt. OG. Medino is the greatest.
Og Mandino.
Og Mandino. I don't even know him. I don't know who that is. Good morning, Julie. I love this show because you get so many different comments and you get opportunities to not know things.
Yeah.
The power of not knowing is unbelievable. It really is. Hey, speaking of knowing things, though, again, our guest today, there's a lot of folks on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
You go through the profiles, you see the little picture, and it says I do something, and you're like, yep, I've seen that before. But occasionally, when we're flipping through LinkedIn, we see something, and maybe you've seen it, and it's like, what's going on here? This is different. This has my attention. And so when I came across this gentleman's profile, I said, man, I've got to find out who has their profile looking like this. And so I've been reading a little bit about his career. We get a chance to talk to him and let the bus riders ask their questions as well. So today we are joined by the man widely considered the best word of mouth marketer in North America. He was the secret weapon behind the growth of Zipcar and FreshBooks. He's the founder of the Idea Integration Company. Known as the smartest man in the world, he specializes in business courage. We all need a little courage. And making customers laugh, think, and cry. He's here to show us how to stop playing it safe and start standing out. Saul Colt, welcome to First Sip.
Let's go.
Hey everybody, I'm excited to be on the bus.
All right. Well, that's what we wanted to hear. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is what came from my introduction. And when I think about this word right here, conformity, I don't think about you. I'd love to know what you think when you hear the word conformity.
So I think conformity is it's people covering their own ass. It's playing it safe. It's I don't think that companies have, for the most part, have creativity problems. I think they have courage problems. Everybody says we just need better ideas, but they actually don't. They already have better ideas sitting in a Google Doc somewhere that just got killed in a meeting because people are conforming to what's safe, what they're afraid to do, and stuff like that. When someone suggests something bold and then another person says, well, what if it doesn't work? That's basically another way of just sticking to conformity. It's like I love looking at houses online that I can't afford, and it's like, how many beige houses can you look at and really see anything that stands out? Everybody is trying to be the same, and everyone's trying to be the same, but in their brain they're saying, oh man, we're so original, we're so different. But going back to conformity, there's a fear of being wrong, there's a fear of looking stupid, there's a fear of getting fired, and playing it safe is actually the riskiest move right now. Conforming is the riskiest move right now because safe doesn't work anymore, doesn't perform anymore. Great marketers, great business people, great, anybody who aren't just creative thinkers, they have to fight for the work and fight for everything, and if you're conforming, you're not fighting.
Man, I love all of that. So I just got into the marketing world and started looking at digital marketing, and you go to it, look for a roofing company, and you see all the different ads and they look identical, and then I'm learning how much money is being put into these buckets to look just like everyone else. And so then it becomes a game of who spends the most money may get the most attention, but I'm sure you saw that early in your career. How did you start thinking like this? How did you develop courage? Where did Saul come from?
So I'll tell you kind of my origin story. I was invited to speak at a conference, and I was super excited. It was very early in my career, a young Saul, no gray hair or anything like that, and I was proud and excited. I invited my dad to come and see me talk, and and I did a fine presentation, and I was wearing dress shoes and a probably suit pants or something, and I'm like a jeans sneakers guy. I'm not wearing anything below the waist right now. This is early for me. I've got a shirt on and I'm al dente underneath. But you know, my dad, after the talk, he said, like, I'm really proud of you. This is great, but it wasn't you up there. That was like someone else. And he sort of told me that, if I'm gonna be successful and if I'm gonna, really sort of draw people into the Saul experience, which he's lived with my whole life, I have to be myself, and being myself is standing out. Being myself is a little outrageous. I wrote a blog post on LinkedIn, of all places. LinkedIn, the common sense says play it safe, play it this. I wrote a blog post probably 2 weeks ago about how women's pubic hair, and the marketing lesson I learned about women going back to full bush, and I tied it back to the more and more you see something that you think is shocking, the less it actually becomes shocking, and sort of that. So it's like I'm always pushing the limits, and I'm not doing it to be shocking. I'm doing it because I like it. It's who I am, and by putting out exactly who I am, it eliminates the type of people that may want to work with me. So I always say my brand is the best and worst thing going for me, but at the same time, it makes it much, much easier for people who want to take chances to find me, and people who, want to, they understand the importance of standing out. And I live what I preach, and I show that you can do some crazy things, and it's not going to cancel you. It's not going to come back and hurt you in any way. It's like the greatest lesson of word of mouth marketing is, if something doesn't set the world on fire, it just means nobody saw it. It's not going to come back and bite you in the backside or anything like that.
I love that. Fred, what you got for Saul?
So do you think if your dad wouldn't have mentioned, hey, it just didn't feel like you up there, that you would have changed, that you would have turned the corner to something different?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I was young and very early in my career, and I think we're taught to play it safe. We're taught to don't stand out and all those things. Like I think that advice saved me from probably a long career of being miserable. I've had maybe the greatest career anyone could have, but I also wouldn't have wished my career on a lot of people. I've had the highest highs where I'm on the cover of magazines, and I've had crazy lows where I didn't create any revenue for 12-month period because all of a sudden the trend is moved to growth hacking instead of customer relationship marketing or word of mouth and things like that. So I've experienced everything on the roller coaster, but I'll tell you I was able to survive a year without revenue because I had 5 great years before that. So I've always said that my strategy and my plan for my career has been be the absolute greatest in the world in a very, very small skill set. So it's like, when you talked about roofers or whatever the example was, when you go to digital marketing and stuff like that, when people come to me and say, can you run a Google AdWords campaign for me? I say no, because that's not what we do. I want to be known for one thing and one thing only, be considered the best in the world, which I believe we are. And that way, if anybody needs us, we're the only place that they would think of, as opposed to being a generalist or something like that. I believe, we talk about careers, we talk about things, with AI coming in and all sorts of things like that. I think you have to be a specialist now. You cannot be a generalist. Generalists are going to starve to death. If you're a specialist and you do something so unique and so different, you may not everybody in the world may not need you, but the small group of people that do need you will keep you fed. They'll keep you, in clothes, at least from the waist up, and they'll keep you going. And that's the advice I give to everybody right now, because it's so important to be really, really great at something and not just be good at a whole lot of things.
Yeah. Well, here's something that you have done today. For the first time ever on First Sip, we've had 2 below the belt references, one being Al Dente, which I agree with Paul was comedy gold, and the second being Full Bush for a woman. So congratulations.
Thank you. And the hits are going to keep coming.
I'm ready. This is what I hoped for.
When you invite someone like Saul onto the show, the unexpected happens. But I just want to amen all of that, right? AI's coming in, and I've heard you talk, and I read about human connection. That's who's buying our products, and everybody's starting to look the same. And you've done some fantastic things. Talk to us about how you talk companies into being more creative, to not playing it safe. You're in a conference room, you're pitching something, and you're trying to tell them to do something different, and they kind of want to, and you show them success, and they're scared. What do you tell them?
So there's a couple ways I can answer this question. I would, I'll just do both really quickly. I think most brands don't understand what business they're actually in. It's like, are you in a product business or are you in the attention business? Because, if no one knows you exist, you don't have a product problem, you have an awareness problem. And a lot of people think you just keep beating that product over the head. But a coffee shop isn't really selling coffee. It's selling a reason to choose them. It's selling a reason to come in and sit down for an hour. A software company isn't really selling features. It's selling relief. It's selling time. It's selling identity. So, the real question becomes, why would anyone choose you over the 50 other options they already ignore? And this pushes people to think about their company differently. It pushes the conversation into positioning and storytelling without sounding like a textbook. And that's one of the ways I really convince people. And the other way I convince people to take chances and stuff like that is because familiarity is really the enemy of interesting. Inside companies, and this goes to conformity, like you started the show with. Inside companies, everything feels normal, logical, obvious, but that's because you've been staring at it for 2 years. To the outside world, they don't care, they don't understand, they don't have time, they're not paying attention. So when brands say, we want something that feels like us, what they often mean is we want something that feels familiar internally, and that kills originality, because I think a lot of brands, and I always start, when I work with a brand and ask them who their customers are, and I'm amazed how few brands really, really know their customers. If you're marketing for what you like and not what your customers like, because you don't really know your customers, you're going to miss the target all the time. Your job is not to reflect how you see your brand. It's to translate it into something. It's to translate it into how the people who are giving you money see your brand. So it's like I've been fired from jobs. I've been, thrown out of buildings, but I actually don't really care what the VP of marketing wants us to do. I care about what the customers want to receive. And that's like a friction point I've had a lot of times because I'm interviewing customers. I'm spending time with them. I'm figuring out how their brain works, because they're the ones who are keeping the lights on in the business. It's not really the senior management. So if the senior management wants to play it safe because they want to have a, maybe a cover your ass mentality, or just keep my job, or anything like that, sometimes you can overcome it, sometimes you can't. But the job is always to make the customer happy, and not necessarily the owner of the company. It sounds, I don't even know if this is the right cliche, antithetical to common knowledge, but you should only be pleasing the people who give you money, not anyone else. So that's where you start and end.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I heard you talking about, I see Paul's comment there, and we hear many of the people in sales are beige. And I think that many human beings are beige. We want to fit in. We as a human beings, we like to conform. We like to fit in. It hurts when we feel like we don't. It feels vulnerable. So, let's see. There was one thing you mentioned, a net zero budget, thinking about sales. Do you remember talking about a net zero budget? I think that's what there was somebody that gave you that. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, so I started working for Zero. They hired me to help relaunch their U.S. Sort of entrance into the U.S. market. Zero is I think at this time they're probably the second largest online invoicing platform behind QuickBooks, and great product, great company, great people. I really, really enjoyed working with them. I made, really wonderful friends and connections inside the company, outside the company, great experience. But right when I was hired, they brought in a who is now someone I consider a good friend, but they brought in a new president to run the operation, and he came from publicly traded background and VCs and all sorts of things. And I thought we were going to clash all the time because he's a data and analytics person, and I'm a let's get everyone to love us and the money will pour in more than you could imagine sort of person. And the way that he got me to, or the way he allowed me to have some freedom but also keep the reins on me early in our career, it changed once he saw that I knew what I was talking about. But he gave me a net zero budget, which basically said you have no ability to spend a penny on your own, but your budget could be unlimited if you prove it to me, you show me the business case, we talk about why you're doing what you want to do and things like that. And it's not the greatest situation to work in, but I understood, we're coming from very different worlds, and he asked me to prove myself. But like I said, it's not my favorite, but I'm not afraid to prove anything I do. I'm not one of these people who just says, give me a bag of gold and leave me alone for 6 months and I'll come back and show you results. I'm happy to defend all my arguments. I'm happy to defend all my ideas. I'm happy to, my entire career, and Forbes magazine even wrote an article on me about this exact thing. My entire career has been about painting a target on my back, letting people either love me, hate me, or just, really don't, whatever you feel, you're going to have a feeling about me if you've met me. And I've always exceeded all my promises and outcomes because that's just kind of the way I like to work. Like I like to work in high pressure situations. I like to work with like a lot of people watching and either wishing bad things on me or wishing good things on me. It doesn't matter because I'm insulated. I've got an enormous ego and I never fail. And so it's like I'm good to have criticism and have people watching and whatever. That's just sort of like that's been my career. That's why I say I wouldn't wish my career on anybody.
Oh, man, that's good stuff. Freddie Blanton, you got anything rolling around in there you want to ask Saul?
You may be confident too.
I have all the same insecurities and neuroses as anybody, but most of my like neuroses comes from like my personal life. When it comes to work, I know what I'm doing. I can, I know how to do it. I can solve any problem with creativity. And you talk about going back to net zero budget, I believe any problem can be solved with creativity. Solving problems with money is easy, but it also doesn't create, a lot of the results people are looking for. You think of performance marketing and people have fine-tuned everything down to, 150 data points and stuff like that, but you're not building insiders and you're not building outsiders when you're just doing performance marketing. Great marketing, which is what I believe I do, creates excuse me, it creates insiders and outsiders, and this is something that not a lot of people talk about. When something is truly interesting, some people get it, some people don't, and that's good, because the people who get it, they feel smart, they feel included, they feel like they're part of something. That drives word of mouth way more than like brand appeal ever will. Like, think about having an inside joke with like a customer. That's what great marketing feels like. It doesn't feel like 12 emails saying you left something in your shopping cart, or whatever analogy I want to throw at you guys.
Like that. I'd love for you to talk. I'm sure when you see other people's content, you maybe have a thought about it, or maybe it's content or it's brands. There's things that are kind of your, like, little things that maybe individuals that are watching the show could do to change their content, to start to think differently. It is scary. I know you got a great team and y'all do workshops and boot camps with people and brands, but it really is the human beings are running these brands. And so whether it's a company or an individual, would you encourage folks, and what can we do to improve a little?
I would say, if you want to improve, if you want to improve, be more open to things. Most great ideas fail before they even launch, and not because the idea was bad, it's because it got diluted. You've seen this a million times. Great idea in the room, then legal weighs in, then brand guidelines, then 3 executives add just one thing, and suddenly it's unrecognizable. So, the failure isn't in market, it's in progress. It's in process. And I think that's a lot of how a lot of bad things don't sort of fail. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I read a comment from Joseph.
Oh no! You got to tell us which comment you read.
Oh, he just said that he had to leave because he's offended, but that's okay, Joseph. I'm good. But the reason, it all comes down to courage. Very, very few people have, and I said this before, very few brands have a creativity problem. They have a courage problem. And like, so much of that is, can be overcome by just taking chances. People really love, like, to be a part of something, and they have to take chances. And, it's like the best stuff comes when the customer feels like a hero. And when you're actually making the customer the hero, you're not worrying about your brand guidelines. You're not worrying about, what customers are what people are who aren't your customers are going to worry about. I always tell people, if somebody isn't a customer, don't worry if you ruffle their feathers. Don't worry if they're not giving you money. They don't get a say. It's like, when people protest, there's this great story about American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney, that whole thing with her jeans campaign, and people were like, oh, it's a thinly veiled, like, Nazi reference or something like that, which, like, was such nonsense and crazy. But all these people were screaming American Eagle is bad, yet their sales were going up, because the people that were screaming were never customers to begin with. And the great story was, the owner of American Eagle is, he's a Jewish man. So when they say, thinly veiled Nazi comments was kind of crazy right out of the gate. But he's an older guy in his 70s. He doesn't really understand social media and things the way a lot of the younger people, and all of his younger executives were coming to him and saying, we've got to kill this campaign. We've got to do this. The company is going to burn to the ground. And his advice to them was, let's not do anything for 45 days and see what happens at the end of the 45 days. So they stayed quiet. They let the campaign run its full duration. Of the 45 days, they saw foot traffic into the store went crazy. Sales went through the roof. They're trying to keep product on the shelves because it resonated with their customers, and those are the only people you need to keep happy. Anyone else is a distraction. And they made their customer feel like a hero. And because they made the customer feel like a hero, the company benefited from it. So it's like you can't please everybody all the time. So please the people that actually are giving you money. Please those people, because that's where it's important, and ignore the rest. It's not
That's
easy to
true.
ignore people because they can be loud and stuff like that. But like, you're not going to convert these people, so just let them scream and yell. And
Just keep
I think Nike does this really great. They support their athletes even when like Tiger Woods gets into a car accident, and people scream and yell, and they burn their Nike golf shirts on social media and stuff like that. But Nike's like, we support our athletes, and 6 weeks later it's all buried and done, and they're back to business and stuff like that. It's we brands need to be less reactive.
Brands need to be less reactive, and you hit on a lot of things, that even the people pleasing. Please the people that are giving you money. I tend to want to make everybody happy. I hate that Joe's here. He's been here for probably 300 plus days in a row, maybe. But that's okay, because I think, you talk about keeping it real, and sometimes a guest may not appeal to everybody, and that's okay, right? I mean, I wanted to talk to Saul. I think he's got great stuff. I love marketing. I love to talk to people and get that. But I think you hit on some great points, right? I mean, you can't please everybody. Freddie knows that.
I try not to.
Freddie tries not to please people, but that's why we enjoy this dynamic, Saul, right? I mean, it's one of those things where we've got a little bit of yin and yang, push and pull, and that makes it fun. That makes it interesting. We're at 30 minutes.
But I'm going to also, and I'm not picking on Joe. I don't know Joe. I'm sure he's a wonderful person. And like, this is not an attack on Joe, but I do want to point out that, when you're doing marketing, when you're creating messaging, when you're creating storytelling, if it's not a little uncomfortable, it's probably not worth doing, because, every meaningful idea has a moment where it feels risky. It feels exposed. It feels like you might get judged. And this is how things stand out. This is how things cut through. Joe, he may really have been offended by the things we were talking about, but I think he's going to be thinking about it this afternoon. And that's the message here. That's the price of doing something interesting. If everything feels easy, if everything feels approved, if everything feels comfortable, you're not making something that people will notice. You're not making something that people are going to be thinking about hours later. You're not going to be making something that people are going to turn to their friend and share and say, "You'll never believe what I heard today." And that's really the key about getting people to talk. I mentioned earlier the biggest secret of word of mouth is, if it doesn't set the world on fire, it just means nobody heard it. But also, one of the other things that, the secrets of word of mouth marketing is that if, you guys don't really know me. We've been talking for, I don't know, half an hour or so. We like each other. We're all getting along, but you don't know me. So if I were to say, "Oh man, you guys really got to try this restaurant. It's the greatest, restaurant I've ever been to," it's probably about a 50% chance you may think about it, look at it, try it. But if your best friend tells you to try a restaurant, studies have shown there's a 93% chance you will check out that restaurant. So if I'm continuously beating people over the head saying, "Buy this product, buy this product, buy this product," and I'm not giving them a reason to talk about it, or not giving them an experience to share, they may talk about it, they may not. But if I do something really, really cool for them and create an experience, or talk about the fact that I'm not wearing pants, or anything like that, there's a 90% chance you're going to turn to your friend and say, "You'll never guess what I saw today. You'll never guess what I heard today." And by your friend telling you this, because you know your friend, because you like your friend, and because you trust your friend, it's in the 90 percentile that you're going to check that thing out or try that thing. So it's so important to create experiences that people will carry on. It's important to create experiences that people are going to talk about. Otherwise, no amount of marketing or advertising is going to really do anything, to move your revenue or your needle.
Let's talk about what Gary put up here. We're a little over, but that's okay. What are you saying is your integrity? What you are saying is that your integrity can be bought because you please the people that are giving you money. While I agree that we need money to live and enjoy the finer things in life, but I will never please the people that is giving you money if that goes against my principles. What do you say to that, Saul?
Well, if your principles are that you don't believe in a certain product, you probably shouldn't be working at that company to begin with. It's like I wouldn't work for a company I don't believe in. I wouldn't support a charity or something that goes against things that I believe in. But if I believe in a product and I like the product and I want them to do better, I don't believe that I'm being bought or anything like that. I believe that there's a value transfer. I'm asking people to talk about a product in exchange for doing something really great for them, and providing them with a really great experience that's going to get them to talk and share. Like I'm not going to, like I can't even think of a product that I don't believe in, or anything. It's just not coming to mind. But I've turned down plenty of jobs that was just something I didn't want to put my name to it or anything like that. But I think maybe you're misunderstanding the point of please the people that are giving you money.
Yeah.
It's more about, these are your customers.
You're
Treat
appealing
them
to
like gold. And if somebody doesn't like you or is never going to buy your product, why would you pay them any amount of time or energy? Why would you put your budget towards someone who hates you, or doesn't believe in your product, or is offended by you? Like there's one thing about converting, people who are on the fence, but if you're a vaccine, if you're a vaccine manufacturer or pharma company, why would you be trying to convert anti-vax people? It's going to be something that you're just going to be banging your head against the wall. So I don't believe I can be. I think my principles are right in line, and I think that I'm a pretty principled person. But I also understand that I have a job to do. I have an amazing skill set, and I want to work with great people that deserve to work with me. But like, I'm not going to work with like a child trafficking organization or something like that. But yeah,
I wanted you to kind of give that nuance so that folks understood that, right? That it's all about integrity. It's all about alignment. It's all about being authentic to what we see, what we feel, and we're not pleasing. I mean, it's really not integrity to try to please someone when it's just to over try to please someone. And now we're not who we are. And so then it becomes something. And when we're in alignment, we know our skills. The folks that see us being in alignment, see us being authentic, they're going to be drawn to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this has been fantastic. Saul, thank you for coming and being a part of our first sip, getting our minds right, talking a little marketing this morning. I hope your energy's good for the rest of the day. Are you a high energy person, or are you just a creative person, Saul?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I get high energy when I need to be, and I like to also kind of be quiet and reflective when I need to be as well. But this was a lot of fun. I expect 3/4 of your audience are going to go out today and get like WWSD tattoos. What would Saul do?
Right.
Just to send their lives in a whole new direction. So I'm glad I could spend time with you guys. I'm glad I was able to touch so many people. I hope Joe is okay, and
I do too.
Yeah,
We love Joe. We love Joe, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, you know, and so hey, this has been great. I always give it to the number one co-host in the upstate of South Carolina, maybe the Southeast, maybe the nation, Freddie Blanton, with the final thought, bro.
Well, Saul, before you check the mail today, put your pants on. But here, we just had a prime example of how to invoke feeling from people. So go do it today. The 3% still won't like it, but the 97% will probably buy in.
There you go. Have a great day. We're talking sales tomorrow. We got a great group coming in to talk sales. Don't miss it. See y'all. See you, Saul.
Okay.